This evening we are gathered to dedicate a stone for a Klamath Falls resident who's been gone for quite some time now, Charlie Adams. Charles Milton Adams, but known in his day as just Charlie. As I was thinking about this gathering tonight and preparing my thoughts for it, one of the things that occurred to me is that there's been so many gatherings in this plot in the last 124 years or whatever it is now. So many loved ones laid to rest here. So many of the community's leading citizens buried here. I also thought about some of the other gatherings that are happening today in America. Earlier today in New York City, they threw a party in honor of the so-called King of Pop, Michael Jackson. I would venture that perhaps there are not many in this crowd that could care less about Michael Jackson.
Amen.
But certainly I'm sure a lot of people attended that. And they probably just finished laying Senator Ted Kennedy to rest at Arlington National Cemetery. His interment was scheduled for sundown in Washington. And today also there are a number of people that are probably remembering that it was on this date 4 years ago that Hurricane Katrina made landfall in New Orleans. And these are all events of national significance that most of us are at least somewhat interested in. But tonight we had this gathering in Klamath Falls to remember an individual who passed about 65 years ago. Charlie was not a figure who made a tremendous impact on Klamath Falls. His impact on the community was somewhat modest, and yet it was interesting and it was important, mainly because of his work that he did in driving the trolley. Charlie was born in 1865 in the Willamette Valley to pioneer residents who'd come over the Oregon Trail. He worked for a while at the ZX Cattle Ranch near Paisley, where his grandson now lives. In 1901, he moved over to the Rogue Valley area, and it was there that he met a gal by the name of Lily Leake, and they were soon married. In 1904, they came to Klamath Falls. He operated the Belmont feed stables and livery barn at the corner of, I think it's Walnut and 7th Street, about where the post office is now. And it was a few years after that he won a contract operating the Linkville trolley. The trolley was established by a land development company by the name of Klamath Canal Company. It was one of two companies that was competing for a franchise to operate a trolley system in the city of Klamath Falls. And there's quite an interesting story about how intense the competition was. In fact, both companies, the Klamath Canal Company and the Klamath Development Company, were both having rails delivered to Klamath Falls the very same day. In fact, they worked through the night to try to get their equipment here first, because whoever started construction first would get the franchise. And there's a story about how one of them deceived the other, and it's a pretty interesting story in itself. But at any rate, Klamath Canal Company won the franchise. They were developing the Buena Vista subdivision, which basically follows California Avenue all the way from the end of Conger Avenue all the way up California Avenue and out to about where Pelican Marina is. And so that's where they laid their trolley line. It went all the way from the area where the railroad station or depot was, down Main Street and around Conger Avenue and up California Avenue and all the way out to that area by Pelican Marina. Now, in those days, as Carol has already mentioned, this was all open countryside, and so it was a fairly good trip out to that area. As it turned out, the trolley never saw all that much business, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. Charlie went on to operate the trolley for about 4 years until it was discontinued. He later bought a ranch out in the Henley area, and at one point he operated a small general store at Olean, and he lived for a time in California, but he passed away here in Klamath Falls at the old Hillside Hospital. That's the one on Crater Lake Avenue, or Crater Lake Parkway. Most recently was Klamath Christian Center. He passed away there in February of 1941. The grave here didn't have a marker on it for all these years. His wife's grave did have a marker on it, and it came to the attention of the Historical Society, probably a couple of years ago, was it, Carol? That the only thing marking Charlie's grave here was one of the small metal squares that had the letters stamped in it. You'll see hundreds of them in the cemetery here if you look closely. And that's all there was marking Charlie's grave. And so the Klamath County Historical Society undertook to get permission to have a marker installed here. They tried to find a marker that as closely matched his wife's as could be, and you'll see they did a pretty good job. There's a contractor in Medford that provided this stone, and it was actually set here just a few weeks ago. Now, as I mentioned, Charlie didn't leave a big impact on Klamath Falls, but I did want to just make a couple of remarks about how we have come to be here tonight to dedicate this marker. Just like there are a lot of people that were influenced by Michael Jackson's music, and just like there were a tremendous number of people that were influenced through Ted Kennedy's service in the U.S. Senate, there was an impact that Charlie had on people's lives as well. As he was driving the trolley, he often had very little business. In fact, when he was interviewed by the Evening Herald newspaper in 1938, he confessed that there were many times when he had practically nothing to do as driver of the trolley. The franchise contract required that they make at least one trip a day with the trolley from downtown Klamath Falls out to the Pelican Marina area. And he said often that's all he did was make the one trip just to satisfy the terms of the contract. He also acknowledged to the newspaper in 1938 that he often had plenty of time to stop off at a saloon and have some refreshment, maybe play a game of pool. There's another story told by another individual who said that the trolley only had one regular passenger, and that was an attorney, a fellow by the name of Alfred Levitt, who would later become circuit court judge here in Klamath County. But at the time, in the early 1900s, from 1906 to 1910, when the trolley was running, Levitt was an attorney at that time. And so I was wondering today, what kind of conversation must the attorney have had with Charlie? Charlie, just a team driver, and this attorney riding the trolley home at night. I happen to know that when Judge Levitt came to Klamath County in the late 1800s, he'd had quite an adventure himself getting here, and so I'm sure the judge had some knowledge about horses, and I'm sure they must have found something to discuss. So even though Charlie didn't leave a big imprint on Klamath Falls as far as things that he accomplished, and even though a lot of folks would not recognize his name today, he did have a successful career and amassed some property. Unfortunately, his grave didn't reflect that dignity until today. And it's just interesting to me that here today we have gathered, even though we come from so many different backgrounds and so many different locations, but we've gathered here today because of our mutual interest in the history of this community. And it's really these types of relationships that Charlie had with Judge Levitt back in the early 1900s, and that we have today. Many of us are acquainted, and I know many of you myself, and it's these relationships that we have that really make our lives count for something. Whether we have a little bit of impact over a lot of people, like a senator might have, or whether we have a really profound impact on the lives of a few people, family members and friends and neighbors. And so as we reflect on Charlie's life today, let us dedicate ourselves to continuing these bonds of friendship and neighborliness that we enjoy in this small town where we live.